Imagine stepping off a luxury cruise ship, thinking you just had the vacation of a lifetime, and then 2 weeks later, you can barely breathe. That is exactly what happened to passengers on the MV Hondius, an expedition cruise ship that departed in April 2026. And if you are over 50, what comes next in this video could be the most important health information you hear all year. Stay with me, because this story is still unfolding and you need to know the facts. Hello and welcome back. If you are watching this channel for the first time, this is a place where we talk honestly about health topics that matter most to Americans over the age of 50. Today, we are covering one of the most alarming medical stories of 2026, a hantavirus outbreak tied to an international cruise ship that has now claimed multiple lives, triggered a global response from the World Health Organization, and brought the United States CDC into emergency action. Now, before you worry, the overall risk to the general American public is still considered low. But this is a story about awareness, preparation, and why people in our age group must stay informed. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what hantavirus is, how this specific strain spreads, what symptoms to watch for, and what steps you should take to protect yourself and the people you love. Let's get into it. On April 1st, 2026, the MV Hondius, a Dutch expedition cruise ship owned by Oceanwide Expeditions, left the port of Ushuaia, Argentina. Ushuaia sits at the southern tip of South America, one of the most remote cities in the world. The ship was carrying around 150 passengers and crew members from 23 different countries. Their destination? Antarctica, and a series of isolated islands scattered across the South Atlantic Ocean. It was supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime adventure, but within days of departure, something went terribly wrong. On April 11th, just 10 days into the voyage, one passenger died. The cause? Hantavirus. His body was transported off the ship when it reached St. Helena, a tiny island in the middle of the Atlantic, on April 24th. His wife, who had also contracted the virus, disembarked there too. She was transported to a hospital in Johannesburg, South Africa, where she died 2 days later. A third passenger also died on board the ship before it could reach port. By May 4th, 2026, the World Health Organization officially confirmed the outbreak, reporting a total of 7 infections and 3 deaths. On May 6th, an 8th case was confirmed. 3 ill passengers were airlifted from the ship and taken to specialized hospitals in Europe. The ship finally made it to Tenerife in Spain's Canary Islands, where passengers from different countries were evacuated and sent home. American passengers were placed on a U.S. government medical repatriation flight sent to Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha, Nebraska, where they were transported to a national quarantine center. The CDC deployed epidemiologists and medical professionals to the Canary Islands to conduct risk assessments for each American passenger. 2 from the cruise ship were taken to Emory Hospital in Atlanta. One of them showed active symptoms. Think about that for a moment. Real American citizens, people who may be just like you or someone you know, were on that ship. And the question everyone is now asking is, how did this virus get on board a cruise ship in the first place? Most people in America have heard the word hantavirus but do not fully understand what it is. So let's break it down in simple terms. Hantavirus is a family of viruses that are naturally carried by rodents, mainly mice and rats. When rodents infected with this virus shed it in their urine, droppings, or saliva, the virus can become airborne in enclosed or poorly ventilated spaces. If a human breathes in those particles, they can become infected. In North America, the most well-known strain is called sin nombre virus, which causes a deadly condition called Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, or HPS. It attacks the lungs. It floods them with fluid, and in severe cases it kills. But the strain linked to this outbreak, the one on the MV Hondius, is called the Andes virus, and it is uniquely dangerous for one specific reason. It is, as of now, the only known hantavirus strain capable of spreading from person to person. Let that sink in. Every other hantavirus in the world requires rodent-to-human contact. The Andes virus, under certain conditions, can jump from one human being to another. According to the World Health Organization, this human-to-human transmission is still uncommon. It appears most likely during the early phase of illness, when the virus is at its most active. Close, prolonged contact, such as living with an infected person or being an intimate partner, increases the risk. Researchers who studied a 2018 outbreak in a small village in Argentina found that transmission appears to happen during a very narrow window, approximately around the day a person first develops a fever. That is when the virus is most active in the body. On the MV Hondius, experts believe some of the spread may have been driven by human-to-human transmission occurring in the close quarters of a ship at sea, with limited airflow and extended contact between passengers. The Andes virus causes Hantavirus cardiopulmonary syndrome. In severe cases, it triggers an immune response that causes the lungs to fill with fluid. The mortality rate in hospitalized patients can reach up to 60%. Let me say that again. In serious cases, up to 60% mortality. There is currently no specific antiviral treatment or vaccine for the Andes virus. Medical care is supportive, managing symptoms and keeping patients alive while their bodies fight. That is what makes this outbreak so significant. And that is why health authorities around the world are watching it so carefully. Now let's talk about something that could potentially save your life or the life of someone you love: the early warning signs of hantavirus infection. Here is why this matters, especially if you are 50 or older. As we age, our immune systems naturally become less effective at fighting off new and aggressive infections. Conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, or heart disease, which are more common in our age group, can make any serious illness harder to survive. The early symptoms of hantavirus pulmonary syndrome caused by the Andes virus can include fever, often sudden and high, muscle aches, especially in the thighs, hips, back, and shoulders, fatigue and general weakness, headache, chills, nausea, vomiting, or abdominal pain in about half of all patients. Here's the frightening part. These early symptoms look almost identical to the flu or a bad cold. Many people dismiss them. They think, I just need to rest. I'll feel better in a few days. But hantavirus does not follow that script. Symptoms typically develop between 1 and 8 weeks after exposure, and they can escalate rapidly. Within days of the early phase, some patients progress to severe breathing difficulty as the lungs fill with fluid. Think of someone like 68-year-old Robert, a retired school teacher from Ohio. He saved up for years to take an expedition cruise in early 2026. He came back home feeling slightly off, tired, a bit feverish. He thought it was jet lag, but by the time he went to the emergency room, his oxygen levels had dropped dangerously. While Robert is a fictional example, the situation reflects what real passengers and their families have faced. The lesson is this: if you or someone you know has recently traveled, especially on a cruise to South America or to remote wilderness areas, and you develop any combination of these symptoms, do not wait. Contact your doctor immediately and mention your travel history. Early medical care is absolutely critical. Do not delay. The good news, and there is good news here, is that the CDC has confirmed the risk to the general American public remains extremely low. You do not need to panic, but you do need to be informed and prepared. Here are the practical steps experts recommend, particularly for Americans over 50. 1. Know your risk factors. Hantavirus is primarily transmitted through contact with infected rodent droppings, urine, or saliva, especially when cleaning enclosed, dusty spaces. If you live in a rural area, have a storage shed, barn, or cabin that has not been used in a while, take precautions before cleaning it out. 2. Safe cleaning practices. Before cleaning an enclosed space that rodents may have accessed, wear rubber or plastic gloves, a well-fitted respirator mask, N95 or better, and eye protection. Do not sweep or vacuum potentially contaminated areas dry, as this can aerosolize the virus. Instead, spray the area thoroughly with a disinfectant solution first, let it soak, and then wipe it up. 3. Be cruise smart. If you are planning a cruise, especially an expedition cruise to Antarctica, the Arctic, or remote South Atlantic destinations, check with your travel provider about their health protocols. Ask about their onboard medical capabilities and their evacuation policies. Make sure your travel insurance covers medical evacuation. 4. Monitor yourself after travel. If you have recently been on an international cruise or traveled to South America, pay close attention to your health for the next 8 weeks. That is the outer range of the hantavirus incubation period. If you develop fever, muscle aches, or breathing difficulties, call your doctor. Tell them where you traveled and when. 5. Follow CDC and WHO updates. The CDC is actively monitoring American passengers from the MV Hondius and has deployed teams to support their health assessment. Stay connected with reliable sources. Visit cdc.gov for updates. Do not rely on social media rumors. 6. Strengthen your overall health. This may sound simple, but it matters enormously for adults over 50. Get enough sleep. Stay hydrated. Eat nutritious foods. Keep your regular medical appointments. A body in good health is far better equipped to handle any infection. Let's step back for a moment and look at the bigger picture. The MV Hondius outbreak is being called an outlier event by medical experts. Global health authorities and prediction markets currently assess the risk of widespread contagion as low. But that does not mean we should look away. What this outbreak has revealed is how little we still know about certain viruses circulating in wild rodent populations, and how quickly they can reach human populations when conditions are right. A remote expedition ship, close quarters, passengers from 23 countries, an incubation period of up to 8 weeks. These are the ingredients for a story that health officials will be studying for years. The Andes virus in particular is a reminder that human-to-human transmission of hantavirus, while historically rare, is a real and documented phenomenon. Experts estimate fewer than 300 confirmed cases of human-to-human Andes virus transmission have ever been recorded in history. The events on the MV Hondius may add to that count. There is also the issue of surveillance gaps. Because early hantavirus symptoms mimic the flu so closely, mild or asymptomatic infections may be going undetected. This makes it difficult for public health systems to see the full picture of any outbreak. For our age group, for Americans over 50, this is a call to stay engaged with health news. Not to be frightened, not to cancel every trip or live in fear, but to be informed citizens who understand the risks around us and make smart decisions. Because knowledge is the most powerful protective tool you have. Let's bring it all together. In April 2026, the MV Hondius expedition cruise ship became the site of a deadly hantavirus outbreak. The Andes strain of hantavirus, the only known type capable of spreading from person to person, infected at least 8 people. 3 people died. The CDC, the WHO, and health authorities around the world moved quickly. American passengers were evacuated, assessed, and are being monitored. The current risk to the general American public remains low. But for those of us over 50, people who may travel, who may live in areas with rodent exposure, and whose immune systems need extra support, awareness is everything. Know the symptoms, know the risks, know when to call your doctor, and most importantly, do not wait. If this video gave you something valuable today, please consider sharing it with a friend or family member who needs to hear it. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss our health updates. And leave a comment below. I read every single one, and tell me, did you know about this outbreak? Are you concerned? Let's talk about it. Stay healthy, stay informed, and I will see you in the next video.